Kevin McNulty from NetWeave. Thanks for joining us here on our Attraction Pros COVID-19 video series. How you doing?
Um, as well as can be expected under the circumstances. So everybody here is well and busy as all get out. So it's all we can ask for.
Good, good. Glad to hear that. So would love to just really chat with you and talk about kind of how things are going. What's the scene right now with your business being as you help attractions operators with their social media engagement, and what has that kind of been looking like for you for the last couple of weeks?
Right. So there's probably never been a more important time to have your social media program locked down. I mean, it's for a lot of attractions, this is the only customer touch point they're going to have for the immediate future. Lord knows how long this goes on as far as things being shut down. But right now, social media, maybe your website, maybe some email, but social media is your primary touch point with customers right now, and a lot of attractions are trying to figure out what kind of virtual experiences they can deliver to their clients right now via social media. So we've actually been quite busy with a lot of our clients doing Facebook Live, Instagram Live, doing some Facebook Premiere videos, virtual tours, 360 videos. It's with everybody being shut down, they've got great access to, say, museums have great access to their exhibits right now. They've got time to create this content. We're actually even encouraging a lot of our attractions clients to use this time to stock up on content. Now's the time. You've got the time on your hands. Go film all those videos you always wanted to film and never had the time for. Document your exhibits, put somebody with a camera in an experience and record that virtual experience so you can either deliver it now or keep it in stock to deliver later. So at, there's actually quite a lot going on in my world right now.
Yeah, and like you say, social media is so important in order to get that message out there, right? And to be able to stay connected. So what kind of reaction are some of those things getting, like the virtual tours and those type of things? What kind of reaction are you seeing through your platforms from the guests?
By and large, they're being very well received. There's a novelty factor with all of this. I mean, all of this is new territory. None of us have ever experienced this before. So as customers try and roll this stuff out, we see, an increase in reach, and then it trails off a little bit. But by and large, even if we saw an initial bump that's now kind of leveling off as the novelty factor wears off, the level is still higher than it was to start with, which is, I think what would be reasonable to expect. But um, things are being very well received. Where we're especially seeing a lot of success is with some of our science centers and museums providing daytime programming that can be used for homeschooling or even just to, give kids something to do. That's going over very well. We're also seeing a lot of our clients are being very innovative with things that they can offer right now. We have one client that is offering virtual birthday parties. So they host basically one of these. They host a Zoom video chat with all the kids' friends, but they do different backgrounds, and then they have somebody who is doing activities for the kids. In this case, it's a science center, so they're doing experiments, and the whole party has a theme. And it's actually a pretty awesome idea. We're trying to actually suggest that to some of our other clients where it would work.
Are they charging for these birthday parties? Well, obviously, I'm sure not the same price as they would for on-site, but is there kind of
Right.
a fee associated with it?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's looking for a way to generate revenue right now, So they're looking for these virtual experiences that they can deliver for a nominal fee. Folks, a lot of folks in the nonprofit world are asking for donations, but it's a rough time to kind of ask for donations because a lot of folks are unsure what their income is going to be like. Some places are going with, we've got one family entertainment center who is having a huge gift card sale right now. Like, buy a gift card now for 50% off, which essentially doubles your money. And then when all this is over, come in and use it. And so, everybody's just looking for a way to, basically stay engaged with their customers and try and generate whatever revenue they can right now, which is tough.
Right. So where's the balance then, knowing that kind of this economic strain is hitting all of us, both the businesses and the consumers, of making sure that you are focusing on trying to generate revenue without coming across as tone deaf?
Right. That's really the key for social media right now in general, is that sensitivity to not coming off as tone deaf. I think the one thing that works in your favor, if you didn't have good social media before this, you're in big trouble. But if you had a good social media program going already, you've already got a lot of folks who support and love you. And if you approach it from the standpoint of, we're all in this together, and not necessarily, I mean, every case is different, right? My answers always start with it depends, but we've seen a lot of success with the general approach of, we really appreciate your support right now. We know it's a tough time. We know everybody is in a pickle. We're all going through this together. It's never happened before, but you can imagine how hard this is hitting us and how much we need your support right now. I think that candor and that transparency is what keeps you from sounding tone deaf and promotional. You definitely don't want to go with business as usual when it comes to promotions. If you're selling something that can still be sold, like gift cards or virtual experiences, you still have to approach it from the standpoint of, hey, look, we know it's a tough time. It's a tough time for everybody. It's a tough time for us too. And we're just, we thank you for your support, and we appreciate, we've had a lot of people ask us about this, and, we appreciate you being there for us. We've always loved being a part of this community. Those kinds of things go a long way right now. We even, we have customers in all kinds of businesses, not just attractions, and a lot of our retail folks are taking it pretty hard right now. But, coming to the community and saying, hey, look, we've always sponsored your little league teams. We've always donated to local charities. We're a local business and we're a part of this community, and we've always been there to support you. And now we need your help. And that kind of candid appeal is actually going over very well.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot and seen this myself that, obviously candor, transparency, realism, that goes a long way when you're trying to connect. I mean, not even just during a pandemic, right? I mean, those kind of things go over really well just as trying to build relationships. So I'm curious, something you said earlier, you said if you didn't have a good social media strategy, now you're kind of behind the curve, right? You're behind the 8 ball. But certainly if somebody was sort of entering that pool now, what sort of advice would you have as far as, okay, I really haven't done much yet with social media. I do need to sort of build my community. Is it too late for them, or are there things that they can do to kind of start reaching out now?
I don't think it's too late to start building a community or to start reaching out. I just, what I meant by that comment is that it's, if you haven't been there for them, if you don't already have a relationship with them, then it's hard to go to the, hey, we've always been friends. Now we kind of need your help. It's hard to make that ask if you haven't been there for them in the past. But this is a great time to get there if you weren't there already. It's just the nature of what you're putting out and the nature of what you're asking for is going to have to be a little bit different. It's relationship marketing, right? It's just as if it were just one person and you talking it over. It's just now at scale. So if you didn't have a relationship with this person before, then what you talk to them about right now is going to be significantly different than if you've always had a relationship with that person. And that's really the situation here. Like I say, it just happens at scale. But this is a great time to tell people your story. Um, you know, go through your history, remember better days, talk about how you have been part of the community, kind of set that up for people. Talk about, if you're an attraction that's been around a long time, you probably have, like, the community probably has a collective memory of you. Maybe they went there every year on a field trip when they were in school, things like that. Kind of remind them of those things, remind them of those better times, and establish that relationship now. You're not going to be able to ask for as much because you didn't put the time in up front. But this is a great time to make those connections. And the important thing about this is you've got lots of time on your hands now. So there's never been a better time to get into it and to start to tell the story and to start to ask people what their memories are, right? Make those relationships. But you're going to have to keep it going, right? This is not going to last forever. And eventually things are going to get back to normal, or whatever the new normal is going to be. But we're going to get there. You can't just drop them at that point, right? Like, it's that scene in the Blues. We just watched the Blues Brothers because, of course, we're just sitting and watching movies all day, right? But we just watched the Blues Brothers the other night, and there's that scene where John Belushi and Carrie Fisher meet in the tunnel, and she's trying to kill him because he left her at the altar, and then he kind of woos her back. And they have this big dramatic kiss, and then he drops her and says, "Let's go." Right? When things get back to normal, you can't just drop Carrie Fisher and say, "Let's go." You have to establish the relationship, but then you have to maintain the relationship.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that analogy, by the way. Just because I'm so close to a 1060 West Addison. It's just down the street from
Yep.
Where I live. I can walk there. For those of us who have, for businesses that have been taking the strong approach of kind of building those relationships, telling those stories, you mentioned that overall engagement, there was that surge, and even though it's dipped a little bit, it's still higher than normal. When we kind of get towards the other side of that, at what point is it then most effective and respectable to start trying to monetize that newer audience that you have?
I think as we start getting out of this and people start going outside again and attractions start opening up, I think the way to appeal to that, and again, depends on the attraction, depends on the relationship you already have, all of those caveats, but I think it's a celebration, right? It's, let's all get back out there. You guys have been so great during all of this. Thank you for your support. We're open for business again. We hope you come see us. I think crass commercialism doesn't work on social media in any era, pandemics or not. If you just go to social media and all you do is broadcast and all you do is sell and all you do is promote specials, you don't have a solid social media program. You're probably not making nearly as much as you could out of your social program. So just going right back to selling isn't something that you want to do in any case. But I think, if you talk about it like, let's celebrate, we're all back now, we're open for business. I think it might even be appropriate to have maybe a social media only special to celebrate with all those people who were there for you virtually during this time. You guys have been so great staying in touch with us and staying tuned and watching all our videos and our virtual tours or whatever else you were doing. We want to thank you for being with us during this time, and now that we're back open again, we'd like you to come and bring a guest, buy one, get one, whatever. So I think as long as the context is in kind of celebration and back in business and let's all get outside, that kind of thing, I think you're fine. People sometimes consider monetization not necessarily a dirty word, but you think monetization is one, if you think it's a switch you flip, that's not true. People always ask us what we do differently that makes our clients successful on social media. And I tell them there isn't one thing, it's 1,000 little things. And that's what monetization is when you're talking about social media. It's 1,000 little things. The post that convinces person A to come visit you is going to be different than the thing that convinced person B to come visit you. But I think as long as the overall tone is, we're everything's open again and we're so happy, come celebrate with us, that kind of positive vibe, I think you're fine as the day you open. I don't think there's a ramp up to that. I think that's actually big announcement. Shoot the confetti cannon. And I think you can start right from there.
Excellent. And then that allows operators to then ramp up, or I guess amp up that excitement and that enthusiasm. So when there is that reopening, that engagement just naturally transfers into business. Would you agree with that? Or as far as kind of being able to magnify the excitement of your guests online?
Absolutely. And do not underestimate the amount of that can be done by them, right? It's not just you talking. It's social media. The emphasis is on social. So let other people tell the story. Let other people, ask them questions. We open again on May 25th. What's the first thing you're going to ride? Those kinds of things. Let them share the excitement and build it within the group. What they can tell the other fans on the page is more valuable to you than what you can tell them. People trust advertising like 14% of the time, but they trust friend recommendations 77% of the time. So if you give a platform for your fans to talk about you, that's price you can't buy.
Yeah. Kevin, I'm curious. Obviously, there's another angle to all of this. We're talking a lot about the business and engaging guests, but we have a lot of furloughed employees and people who are, working from home right now that never have before, or they're out of a job or whatever the case may be. Are any of your clients or any of the folks you're interacting with trying to figure out ways to engage that audience as well, like the employees and their previous and hopefully potentially future workers?
Well, I'm sure some of them are. I don't actually properly know the answer to that question. Mostly what we help folks with is the customer facing stuff.
Sure.
So I know some of our clients do have like a Facebook group or a Slack channel or Microsoft Teams, things like that, that they are using to stay in touch, Facebook Workplace. But we don't really run those for them. So I can't really speak to what they're doing on there. I know they are using those tools.
Sure.
I just don't really know what they're doing with them because like I say, we're more on the customer facing side of things.
Sure. Now, I would imagine though that whatever that platform is, that those same sort of pillars that you talked about earlier, being transparent and your candor and being respectful, all those would still hold as you're trying to engage your team, whether it's a team or a guest. Absolutely,
and we've done it with our own team. From the very beginning, whenever we get together, and our office has always been virtual, so nothing really changed for us. But we've always had these type of video conference staff meetings and whatnot, and we've been candid with our employees from the very beginning, like, look, this is not business as usual. We are going to lose some clients because some places are going to close. That's the reality of the situation. And we've been as transparent with our team from day one about that, and what we're doing to make sure we all stay busy. And I imagine that's what our clients are doing as well. I've always been a fan of transparency with the staff, because we're a small business. We're not a big advertising agency. We're certainly not a big attraction. We've been in attractions for a long time, but we're a relatively small team. And I kind of came up professionally in, I've worked for big companies, but more recently, smaller companies where, I learned a lot from the owner. And one of the things that I learned was that everybody has to be thinking like an owner in a small business, and to do that, they all have to have the right information. So, we've always been very candid that way and transparent. And I think that's the best approach, because your employees are smart. If you've done a good job hiring, they can figure this stuff out on their own. And if they figure something out that you're not telling them, that's not going to sit well. And no matter what that is or what the situation is. So, I would recommend that transparency and candor, because we're all smart people and we all know that this is not going to be without consequences. Let's just do the best we can with what we have together.
Right. Yeah, no, that's really good. I think no matter what we're focused on here, it's got to be about communication, right? How are we communicating? That's what you do, every day as you're putting out these messages. It's about communication. We're communicating to our teams. We're communicating to the people around us. We're communicating right now. So I think that's really important. And then you talk about not being tone deaf in the message. So I'm curious if there's any lessons that you've seen out there, that examples of people or organizations, certainly not your clients, being tone deaf, or other organizations that are probably not doing what they're supposed to be doing right now on social media, that you're seeing you would just advise against whatever it was that they were doing.
Yeah. One thing that happened with surprising speed is, and I guess I really shouldn't be that surprised. People on social media tend to spend more time online, which, tends to make them online news consumers and whatnot. But the amount of people that hopped on a post to criticize it because it showed people closer than 6 feet together, or it showed a group of more than 10 people, like, they were all over that. So you really, if you're showing things from the past, you need to make it clear in the caption that, back before all this happened, you really need to provide context. We had a client who has a live animal collection, and they did a nice video with some of the animals and some of the keepers, but the keepers were all kind of standing together in a group. And the first comment was, they don't look like they're 6 feet apart. And, whether or not that's even relevant to the situation, I mean, these people have to be at work. They have to take care of the animals. And sometimes 2 or 3 or more of them are going to have to be in close proximity in order to do that. But you're not going to explain that to the general public, right? The general public they don't think it all the way through. They just think, wow, there's people close together. So you really have to be cognizant of what that public perception is going to be in any given thing that you're posting. So that was one thing that we noticed. People got on that right away. So whatever you're posting, if it's something that shows a large group of people, you have to make it clear when you're posting it that this is, pre-COVID, and that, we're just remembering back to better times, or what we hope to be doing again soon. Another thing that I have seen other brands do is, try and do the hard sell. right? We're like, we deliver, or buy a gift card, and the hard sell right now, the hard sells never worked particularly well on social media, but it particularly does not go over well now. The comments I've seen, are of the sort of, do you realize we're all worried about our jobs right now? That kind of a thing. So I think that's really been the most tone deaf thing I've seen brands do, is just try to be promotional. If you're going to go with the, hey, we're all stuck at home right now, but we have delivery, you still need to approach that from a standpoint of, this is a service that we're doing for our customers because we feel bad that our customers are stuck at home, kind of a thing, not just hammering it out as something promotional.
Yeah, and I think you make a really good point there, that you can offer the exact same thing, but position it in a way that either you're helping or that you're aggressively trying to sell, and that you are trying to generate revenue right now. So, offering, or, for instance, like, offering the gift cards for the future, or something like that, or offering you said at a 50% discount or something like that, double your money, that you could do that in a way that isn't saying, hey, buy now while it's 50% off, but rather saying, hey, we know we're all in a tough time. Of course, we're closed. We can't wait to serve you again in the future. If you are excited to visit us again, we do have this available, or, we are offering, 50% off of our gift cards if you would like to, rather than saying, like, support us while we're closed because we still need your money.
Right. Yeah. And that's true on social media, regardless of what's going on in the world.
Right.
That direct sales message almost never goes over well on social media anyway. Again, it's relationship marketing. So
why do you think
don't imagine it as a website or as a virtual display ad? Imagine it as a conversation with somebody. Right? You're not going to walk up to a person in a room, shake their hand, and start giving them a sales pitch. So that's how you should approach social media always, as a conversation.
So if that is always the best practice, and if that's how things were pre-pandemic, why do you think it became so prevalent kind of in the last few weeks, or maybe kind of at the beginning when places first started to close, of kind of this message out there of saying, like, gift cards are available by now?
Right. I don't think that became any more prevalent. I think it just became more obvious, for lack of a better term, because before that heavy kind of sales message just fell flat. Now it does more than fall flat. Now it blows up in people's faces.
Gotcha.
Right? Because now we're not just being crass and commercial, we're being insensitive also, if we're taking that approach. So I think the people that have always taken that approach, and we see this a lot with people who are like, oh, we tried Facebook advertising and it doesn't work, or we tried social media and we never got anything out of it. Well, yeah, because you were doing it wrong. But the penalty for doing it wrong is more severe now.
Right.
Yeah. Kevin, do you think that there's a portion of the population, and maybe it's the people who are running small businesses, that can see past the tone deafness, right? And see, I see what you're doing, right? I see that you're trying to serve. I see that you're trying to make a little money right now. We're kind of in the same boat. So I'm going to give them a pass on that. Do you see any kind of population that's in that quadrant, if you will?
Well, I think if there is a population like that, the equivalent of letting somebody have a pass on that is just not saying anything.
Yeah.
So you don't see that reaction. You don't see a lot of people. And this is where, going back to, if you had a good social media program before, if you already had a good relationship with your customers on social media, and you do make a misstep like that, you'll see that reaction from your fans. Your fans will come in and say, hey, look, give them a break. They're just trying to you know, if somebody criticizes them for a special they're having, your other fans will come in and say, well, you know, they're barely hanging on right now. They're not open. You know, we should support them if we can. We know not everybody can, but if you can, you should. We're seeing that a lot. We have a client that does a huge air show every year, one of the largest in the country, and they had to cancel it. And a lot of their fans, because we had a good relationship with our fans already, a lot of their fans have been posting everywhere that, like, hey, this is really going to hurt them. This is a fundraiser for their education programs. I'm not asking for my money back for my tickets. I'm donating them, and I hope you will too. And almost to the extent where we didn't even really have to ask. We did do a post about it. We did a post that said, you know, if you would like to make a donation, if you've already purchased your tickets for 2020 and you would like to donate that to our educational programs, here's how, and we sent them a link. We didn't really ask them to. It was more of if you want to kind of approach. But the fans then picked up the ball and ran with it. And that's why it's important to have a good social media program, because when you need people to step out and help, they're willing to do that if you've already got that relationship with them. If you don't, then, you know, you don't have that support at this time.
Yeah, and that's the best type of loyalty that you can have, are people who are stepping up to your defense, especially right now when you can't be serving people in public and you don't have the bandwidth to speak to as many people, or to be able to kind of combat any type of criticism, of having that wave of that loyalty come in. I love that that donation strategy too, and it sounds like something that could be really effective because they've already spent the money, so it's just sort of kind of reallocating it to a different channel.
Right. And they're fortunate to be a nonprofit and to be a tax deductible donation. Not everybody's in that situation.
Right.
But it was really heartwarming to see the fans coming out of the woodwork to support that idea and to spread that idea for us.
Right.
You know, you only have so much reach with your own social media, even if it's great. You know, we have pages that reach tens of thousands of people a day, and that's fantastic. But it goes much farther when you have that supportive fan base who is willing to share and to spread those ideas for you. So no matter how much reach you're getting now, you can be getting more with those engaged fans. And those engaged fans, again, you know, circling back to the idea of trusting friend recommendations, that kind of spreading of the word is going to carry much more weight than just what you post.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kevin, this has been really fascinating, and it's always great to talk to you. You know, as we kind of bring this to a close, do you have any kind of last words or any parting thoughts that you'd like to share with everybody?
Yeah. So, you know, now is the time that you have time on your hands to really invest. So do invest in creating some evergreen content that you can use later. Do invest in building those relationships on social media. Don't let this investment go to waste, though. Have a plan in place for recovery. You should have a recovery plan already from a staffing perspective, from an ops perspective. You know, there should be, okay, once we've got the green light to go again, how do we ramp back up to be open? Make sure that your social media piece is included in that. Like, okay, we were able to make all these great new relationships or to strengthen these relationships. How do we keep this going once we're back open again and everybody's busy and maybe we don't have as much time? How are we going to make sure we don't lose this?
Awesome. It's great advice. We really appreciate it. And like Matt said, it's always great to chat with you. So we really appreciate your time today, Kevin. And thanks so much for joining us, and stay safe and stay healthy, and looking forward to the next time we're able to catch up in person.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. It was a pleasure. Stay safe and stay healthy, and hopefully we see each other soon.